Hi there, welcome back at Wadokai Online. Today I'm going to explain to you some key points for Junzuki no Tsukkomi. The three things that I'll be talking about are the transition of movement. I'll explain to you some details about the stance as well as the position for Hikite. And I'll start with the last one. The first two I have addressed in my seminar, so we'll switch to that footage later on. But at that time, what I told about the Hikite was not on record, so I figured I'll tell you now. Basically, what you do with Hikite is that you pull back your punch, and obviously you do that in a straight trajectory. So, meaning that obviously you're going to pull your fist straight back, and viewed from the back, it would be like this. So your elbow would be pointing straight back when you do the Hikite. So what's let's say sort of unique thing with Junzuki no Tsukkomi is that the Hikite is not pointing straight back. Actually, it's pointing back diagonally. And I've seen many people who still have it pointing straight back. And that's actually not to do with Hikite, it has to do with the position of the body. So for example, when I'm going to execute Junzuki Tsukkomi, obviously this is my starting position. So when I'm going to strike, I see many people do this, and this is a bad example. Stepping in this manner. Yes, they have their upper bodies pointing forward, but they're not rotated enough. So what happens is that the Hikite is pointing straight back. Whereas if I would be in the correct position, meaning that my body is hungry, then you can see probably from that angle that my arm is going to point diagonally. So I'm going to show it to you from this angle. So I'm going to move that way. And you can already tell if I take my position that my arm is not pointing to the camera, but actually it's pointing to the side. And this has to do with the rotation of my body. So for example, when I strike, now you can see that the arm is pointing to an angle. But actually when I stand straight, you can see that my arm is still pointing straight back because I didn't change the position of my arm. So it has to do with the rotation of the body. So I'll show you once more to make sure. So the first one is a bad example, and then I'll rotate to the position that you should use. This is what I often see. This is not so good. But if you do this, then your arm will point to the side. So the position of my arm relative to my body is the same, pointing straight back, but because I rotate it changes. So let's see. The bad example and the correct example. Alright, so this is the Hikite that I mentioned. The other two things that I want to get across are the transition of movement as well as the details of the stance. So let's have a look at some footage from the Wado course that I gave the 18th of June in Holland. Okay, so take this position please. Left stance. Key points for Junzuki no Tsukkomi. The inside of your foot, that's basically with all junta techniques for beginners. Inside of your foot is straight, and the inside of your back foot is also straight in a 90-degree angle. If you want to learn Japanese, it's called chogaku. Yeah? And also, very important, push your hip, and then you get a nice line from your right heel to your left fist. And I know that I have to look at this part of my fist. If I look at that part, my line is correct. Okay? So take this stance. So if you do this is too high, this is too low, this is correct for me. When you go, push your hip so that you come straight again, step through and strike. Straight and in. Wait, strike. Make sure your hand position doesn't change. Up! And that you push your hip forward. So that was the footage of my seminar. I hope that the key points make some sense to you and that you can apply it to your training if that's necessary for you. I can give you a heads up for next week. Next week we'll be covering Melate Gedanbarai. So there's the turning of the body, that's one component. The other is obviously how to execute Gedanbarai and the relationship between them. And then it comes a little bit more close to how you're going to execute the timing and the trajectory of the movement. So I'll be covering that next week. Stay tuned for that one. I'll upload it on Saturday morning, and I try always to do it around 9 o'clock Dutch time. So thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for our next video.